Chris, welcome to the Active Code podcast. It's great to have you with us.
Oh, hi, thanks for having me, Luke. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, the pleasure is all ours, Chris. Could you start off the episode by telling the listeners a bit more about your professional journey so far?
Wow, straight in with the questions. I guess my mum and dad, when I was younger, always used to say to me, do something that you love. Whenever we talked about growing up or what you want to do as a job or what your future would look like, that was kind of the overwhelming sentence of, if you can do something that you love to do every day, that's what you should do as a job. So that's kind of what I really went for, really was kind of, what do I love to do? I think obviously going into employment, being a young adult, you've done the bar jobs, you've done the restaurant jobs, you've worked in, retail, those types of things. But I think moving forwards, it was like, right, this is not where I want to be, but what do I really love to do? And that's always been teaching, that's always been coaching, that's always been something involved in sports. I guess my first love was basketball. Growing up in Nottingham, there's a strong basketball base there, strong basketball family. So basketball is what I fell in love with, and that's kind of what I really wanted to do in terms of being a professional. That didn't materialize, but learned a lot of life lessons, and I actually managed to do something with that in terms of coaching, teaching, working with children, going into schools. So yeah, born was the idea of owning my own coaching company and teaching PE. And then I guess fast forward 10 years, here we are.
Brilliant. You mentioned that your parents were quite flexible and open in terms of where you wanted to go. Was there were you quite a sporty, active family, would you say?
Yeah, my parents always encouraged me and my sister to do sports. So they were forever taking us to football, to swimming, to basketball, to tennis and everything in between. They were those types of parents. They're very much the taxi parents that pick all the kids up, take them to games. My dad drove minibuses everywhere with all the boys in, and they were very supportive. I think they saw the value in that for us as kids, me and my sister.
Amazing. So physical activity and sport kind of from a young age, and getting to where you are now as a business owner. What does physical activity mean to you at this point?
Yeah, I think it's very much something that we all should lead a life being physically active. Whether it's, children playing in the playground or at the park, or, bike rides and walks, or being a part of a team or a club. Whether that's on a sort of a casual basis or whether that's, something that you're really passionate and serious about doing. I think it's something that we should all have in our lives, really, whether it's from a fit being going to the gym even. But I think there's definitely something unique about being a part of a team or a group or a club, and the social aspect of being physically active, I think, is really important, as well as the being active part, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Do you still get you to put your basketball vest on and get out on the court?
No, that's very much, apart from being in the garden with my boys, with Gabriel and Raphael, apart from that, no. Those are hung up to retire. That is.
You mentioned then you got two young, well, you got a young family, haven't you, really? So do you, looking back to when you grew up, do you kind of try and encourage physical activity as you were brought up with Gabriel and Raphael?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've always encouraged them to do things before and after school.
Yeah.
Both of them are in secondary school now. Secondary schools are getting different to primary school, because obviously the PE department in the secondary school will put on lots of things for the children to do, right? So, and, encouraging them to participate in as many of those things as possible, whether that's trampolining, which is something that Gabriel's never done before, or, whether that's basketball club or table tennis club, or, and I think going to athletics competitions is something that Gabriel's really found he enjoys. So yeah, just encouraging them and supporting them in doing that. And I've been a big believer of never really pushing them into doing one thing too soon. So getting them to try and do as many different activities, as many different sports as possible is something that I've encouraged them to do, whether that's an individual sport like a table tennis, or whether that's a team sport. Yeah, I've tried to encourage them to do both. Really.
And as well as out in the garden with the lawnmower and the basketball, how else do you keep active yourself?
Maybe as not as much as I would like. Golf has been my thing recently. I've played golf from being little. My grandparents and my dad played golf, so that was sort of something that's always been around in the background, and something that's kind of nice at being. Do you know the great thing about golf is you can't really have your phone with you, and you're walking and you're outside and you're kind of disconnected from the world for reality for a few hours. So golf's been my thing, but as it's gotten not very nice and not very cold and a bit rain and a bit wet, that's not really been my cup of tea, to be fair. So, but no, I do need to be more active.
It's difficult, isn't it? As a business leader, you're so busy. You've got a family as well to kind of manage. So fitting in activity is tricky. Is very tricky. But when you do manage to get out for a few rounds of golf, what would you say the benefits are for you personally and professionally?
I think anything that takes your mind away from the stresses of what you're getting up to in your regular daily life, whether that's as a business owner, a leader, or a dad, or a husband, just being outside, just in the fresh air, just taking your mind off what you worry about, and you kind of, the anxieties and pressures and stresses kind of disappear for a little bit when you're outside, for me anyway, playing golf. But then you've also got the aspect of, you're not running around, so to speak, but 20,000 steps later, you'll feel like you've been moving for a good couple of hours. And golf's never a straight line either. Golf, it's always a little bit left or a little bit right, or up a hill or down a hill. So yeah, no, but that's what I think I love that about golf as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you haven't managed to get out, and so you mentioned the weather at the moment, which isn't great, if it kind of puts you off going out for a few games over a couple of weeks, and you don't manage to get to kind of fit in that activity in your life, do you find it has like a negative impact on your working life? So maybe you feel a bit more groggy or a bit more tired if you haven't managed to be physically active.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that I'm sure many people did during lockdown was go out for walks. And that's something that we've tried to continue to do at home, sort of post the COVID times and restrictions and stuff. So even just, going for a walk around the block, or, walking, down the road to the shops and back again, or just some, even just to the park, just to get out. And that's something that I think we still try and do, even if we can't be as active as we want to be, whether that's, going to golf or going to the gym or, something like that, really. Yeah, just go and keep that sort of momentum of just going out for a walk is always good.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned quite a lot of the benefits of being physically active, and you've been part of sport and physical activity all your life, it sounds like. Have you managed to take any like learnings or traits from people you've come across in sport into your full-time role now as a business leader? Is there any kind of transferable skills that you can resonate with?
Yeah, definitely. I think from a basketball point of view, how you're a part of a team, how you plan and prepare, how you train. I guess to answer your question, the biggest thing is discipline and commitment.
Mm.
Those are probably the two biggest traits taken from playing as part of a team to quite a high level, to then into sort of, whether it's business or leadership or just family life in general, is just being committed and being disciplined in doing the things that you don't want to do every single day, even though you have to do them. That's where the discipline is. So yeah, that's one of the biggest lessons I've taken from sport.
Would you say you're competitive? Is that because when we
That's a rhetorical question. You know what that is.
we kind of talk about people's motivations and drives as a leader. You said you've got to take discipline with you, which is essential. But I guess being competitive from a sporting background is really useful as a leader sometimes, isn't it? And I don't necessarily mean between you and a competitor. I mean competitive as in growing and striving for more and better and growth and things. Do you think that comes from it as well?
I'm super competitive. Yeah, I'm super competitive. Probably not in a detrimental way, but in a self-motivating way. I'd say I'm super ultra competitive. I don't like, the kids don't win at anything. not in our house. There will be a stage where they're bigger and stronger than me, and I think I will cry at that point when I start losing those things, especially outside in the garden. But no, in terms of in business and in work and in that sort of world in general, ultra competitive. Yeah.
And I guess from sport right the way through to your career, your professional career, you've come into contact with a load of leaders, I'd imagine. Who would you say stands out as one of the most inspirational people you've worked with?
That's a good question. And I think it maybe a little bit sad to say, but I think I've come across more worse leaders than I have inspirational leaders, or more people in leadership positions that maybe shouldn't be in leadership positions. And I think it's not. I think that's a sad thing to say, because I do know that there is lots of very good leaders, inspirational leaders. I do know that. Whether I've crossed paths with them, I'm not too sure. But I think, I guess I take inspiration in terms of leadership from my dad, from my granddad as well. And there has been some coaches and teachers that, looking back, definitely taken lessons from them. My dad was a business owner for all my life, really. From being little, my dad always had his own business. He was a baker. So seeing, him reflecting, looking back and seeing his work ethic in terms of getting up at, midnight, baking bread, then, obviously selling that bread, or maybe, selling cakes and doing deliveries, and then still being available for me as a teenager and my sister as a teenager to then take us places, whether it was games on the weekend or those types of things. So seeing that hard work and commitment and determination and, consistency every day to do that. Again, my granddad was a very savvy businessman as well. But I think in terms of inspirational leaders, I've had some very, very good coaches when I was growing up. So learning their lessons and seeing how those lessons translate into business and into leadership, I think has been really, really cool. I don't know if at the time you don't realize how significant they are until you get older and you're able to then reflect on, okay, I can understand how I can relate that to what I'm doing now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to the coaches that you had, I guess it was in your basketball days. But could you give us a couple of traits, for example, that they do really well, like how they motivated you, why they're inspirational to you?
I think I take one of them, Curtis. He, meticulous in preparation, planning, understanding things from, we've got a game on a Wednesday or a game on a Saturday, how you plan and prepare to play those games, those teams. I think that's something that I could always be more organized. I should always probably plan better, strategies and tactics and all those types of things. I can definitely relate that into business.
I've seen your note taking, Chris, and it is very detailed and very methodical, and it's all color coordinated and mapped out and stuff. So I think that's definitely something you've taken from someone, which is cool.
Yeah, no, yeah, I've got my notebook that goes everywhere with me. Yeah, but no, so yeah, being planning and being methodical, I think, is really important. But I think that only gets you so far, which is what I've started to realize this past few months, is when you're a leader, a business leader, and you're part of a growing company that you're trying to develop, those systems and strategies that you had in place previously aren't as robust as what they need to be, and for a growing team, growing organization. So that's something that I've learned recently.
Just on that growth journey then, just to give the listeners a bit of an insight, because you've gone through rapid growth really in terms of your organization. So what's that look like over the last couple of years? What type of growth have you had to manage and go through?
That's a difficult question to ask. I think if we go back to, if we rewind 2 years ago, coming out of COVID, well, surviving COVID, I guess, where a lot of companies maybe didn't survive COVID, coming out of COVID and having that sense of feeling of, I never want to feel that way again as a business owner. Because I think it was a scary time for a lot of people, a worrying time for a lot of people, especially in a school setting where you feel that maybe education is pretty safe place to be, safe to work. And having the feeling of, what you've worked so hard for could be taken away was a feeling that I didn't enjoy. So coming out of COVID and going into that first September where there wasn't really any restrictions, any bubbles, and knowing that, I wanted to grow, wanted to develop, I think then that really gave me COVID gave me a lot of time to think. I think it gave a lot of people a lot of time to think, away from work and being at home. And one thing that I did know is I didn't want to feel the feeling that I had during COVID, which was the worry and stress and anxiety of, what's next, what if. So coming out of COVID into that first school year and really sort of hitting the ground running with, what we were doing, new schools, employing new staff, to then finding the partnership in the December, January time, till now, really has been an incredible journey. We went from, being being sort of a 3 employee workforce to now being 14 in that sort of time frame, in that sort of 18 months, 2 years, 10 times more schools, wraparound care and camps and all the programs and services that we now offer. It's been a bit of a whirlwind. It has been, like you say, a rapid rise, a rapid growth. But I think that's where we wanted to be. That's what we wanted to do. And that's sort of, that's kind of where we're at.
The phrase, what gets measured gets managed, was coined by the American management consultant Pete Drucker over 40 years ago. Although there have been some alternatives to this phrase, one that resonates with me is what gets measured gets improved.
In recent years, this alternative phrase has gained popularity, emphasising the idea that measuring progress is crucial to achieving improvement.
Scorecards are a great way to highlight your strengths and identify blind spots in your organisation while providing instant, actionable steps on how you can improve that needs improving.
So, how does your organisation measure up?
Head to capscorecard.scoreapp.com and take approximately 5 minutes to answer some yes/no questions. Once you've done that, you will get an instant personalised report tailored to your organisation with clear, actionable steps. And it's totally free.
That's capscorecard.scoreapp.com, and the link will be in the show notes too.
It's where we're at.
I think it's an amazing journey. Like I said, it's really rapid growth for you and your business, really, I guess, over that time since COVID. Now you've got a lot of eyes looking at you as a leader. You say you've got 14 people now that you're responsible for, I guess. So if we were just to cherry pick one of your team members and ask them about your leadership style, what would they say?
That's a good question. I'd hope I'd hope that they say that I'm fair. I hope they would say that I'm considerate and understanding. But of course, they all won't be managed in the same way. You can't manage 14 people in the same way. They're 14 individual people with different personalities and needs and wants from you and your time. But I think in general, I would hope that they would all say that I'm fair and I'm kind. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll agree with them on that. I think they would say. I think they would say that. We had a chat. I think it was a week or two ago about you've gone through a realization of the implications of saying yes and no to certain things now as a business owner. Do you want to just give us a bit of an insight into what made you aware of that as a leader?
I think obviously when you want to develop and grow your business, and I think I touched on it before, some of the systems and methods and structures you had in place might be suitable for 3, 4, 5 people, but then they're not suitable for 15 people. Are they suitable for 30 people? And I think part of that is as your business grows, your role grows. And I think you have to look at yourself first. And I think it's something that I'm still doing, is looking at you and, what are you doing to develop your characteristics, your strategies, your attributes, your, how you talk, how you communicate, there's so many things that you need to work on. You can't just stay still in a growing environment. You have to grow with that environment. And part of that is understanding the consequences of what yes means and what no means. And I know we talked about it a few weeks ago. What is the real meaning behind yes? When you say yes to something, what does that mean? And learning and understanding what that means and what that yes then entails and what follows on from that yes, I think is something that I've learned a lot recently. And there's a lot of power in saying no, or saying no, not right now, because you understand what it means when you say yes. It almost means that the no's become easier, or the not right nows become easier, because you don't just say yes to everything. Because if you do say yes to something, in my mind, in my world, you're then putting your name on it, is what I say. You're putting your reputation on that yes. You're putting your company name on that yes. And, when we do things, we want to do things to a super high quality and a super high standard. And if you say yes to something that you should have said no to, there's going to be a high possibility that you're not going to be able to fulfill that promise, to yourself, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And going back to some of the traits of those great coaches, being methodical and planned and prepared, that's what you are doing by being able to say yes, and the power of saying no, because it might not be right for you at this point. Like you said, if a school comes and said, can we have a wraparound offering from you or provision from you? And a lot of people would dive at it and say, yeah, definitely, because that means more income, more cash in the business. However, like you said, they might not be considering the extra team members you need to employ and manage and meet with and support and train, maybe not considering the extra overheads that come with that, the cash flow implications to it. Is a lot of things to consider. And I think that sums it up perfectly, the power of saying no. I think it's amazing when you kind of realize you've got that power. It's really empowering.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's hard maybe for business leaders sometimes to say no, for exactly that reason, that you want to say yes because it's, maybe it's a great opportunity, it's an increase in income or revenue or cash flow or whatever it might be. But if you're not prepared to say yes and understand what the complications and what that means moving forwards, then that could almost backfire on you detrimentally, because you then don't deliver the service that you want to deliver at the standard that you want to deliver at the quality you want to deliver at, which then can have a negative effect on on your reputation, or, on your name. You've left someone with not a positive experience, then that can be something that, follows you around. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so you as a leader then, Chris, we know you're fair, considerate, committed, disciplined and competitive. But when you put that mirror in front of your face, what things do you think you could work on to be a better leader, or what things have you highlighted that you want to work on to be a better leader?
That's a big truth to confess.
It definitely is. It's kind of horrible when you do it to yourself, isn't it? Oh God! But we often talk about supporting our team through training, setting them action plans and goals, or career pathways, for example. But we rarely look at ourselves and do the same thing. So, yeah, what one thing do you think you'd like to work on?
Communication is I think a massive key to everything that you do. I also think how you listen is big as well, because you could hear what someone's saying, but are you really understanding and hearing what they say and what they mean by what they say? Those two are really important. I think being present is something I think is really important in being a good leader. And what I mean by being present is when you listen to someone and when you talk to someone and communicate with someone, you are completely focused and they have your time and you're present in that moment. I think we're so quick to sometimes move on to what's next. We aren't truly present in understanding what is going on around us and the external effects of what's happening. What does that truly mean to that person? What is that person experiencing, or what does that afternoon for that person actually look like? So communication, being a great listener and being present or something, I think is what's at the forefront of my mind.
Yeah, I think one thing you said there in terms of the listening, there's a quote somewhere, don't know who it's by, I can't remember, could have been you, that says that talks about people often listen to respond. So when they're listening, they're just thinking about what they're going to say next. Whereas what you said then is right, because it's about actually listening to understand. That's a bit that, like you said, it's really tricky to do, because when someone's talking to you, you always think about, what should I respond with? But you're probably missing quite a lot of the message if you're just thinking about that, rather than, okay, let's digest this and then let's give a kind of considered response after, I guess.
Yeah. Are people just listening for them that they can then talk, or they on to what that person's saying and taking in that information, maybe even reading between the lines as well, what they're not saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think as a leader as well, sometimes you've got to be, approachable. You've got, people in your team or your organization have got to be able to come to you and feel like it's a safe place for them to not just vent and, moan or something like that, but to actually feel that they can come to you and say, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm thinking. Can you help me? Yeah. Hopefully I offer that opportunity for people to do that in my organization as well, on my team.
Yeah, definitely. Sticking with your team, so it's growing and growing, which means that you're having to empower more people to lead on certain areas of your business. So how do you go about developing those leaders within your organization?
Yeah, another great question. Something that is quickly developed in my sort of world currently is being a business leader that, and being, you can't be everywhere and you can't do everything. And it's about giving those, I haven't cracked it yet, so I'm going to confess to that I don't know everything, but it's about identifying those people in your organization that you feel maybe have that skill set or have that characteristic that can, or that want that challenge to take on that role, take on that responsibility, and then, working with them, collaborating with them, and giving them the space to take ownership of something with the security for them to know that if it doesn't work, it's okay. So you're not going to, put someone in a role or a position, let them get on with it with no help or support, and then you're going to criticize them, you're going to punish them, you're going to bring them into a review meeting when it goes wrong. So I think it's giving them the opportunity to grow, the space to take ownership, the opportunity to feel responsible for something, but knowing that you're going to be there as and when to help and guide and bounce ideas and collaborate and questions and those types of things. Whether you're fortunate enough to have those people in your organization that want that opportunity is hard, or, I don't think it's not just an overnight process for that to happen. It does take time. It takes years. You look at your journey and look at, Dan's journey to where you are now within the network and Aspire. And I think it doesn't just happen overnight. It takes time. It takes nurture. It takes molding. It takes support and guide. So yeah, I haven't cracked it yet, but I'm working on it. Get back to me on that one. When we do another one, you can ask me the question.
And just on the kind of nurturing point of view, I think sometimes leaders are, if you find someone who wants that ownership, accountability, wants to drive something forward, sometimes we can be guilty of just kind of throwing everything at them and saying, there you go, off you go. However, what you said was absolutely right in terms of it's got to be like a proper process in terms of that delegating that thing, whatever it is, that task or that project, and actually being there to support, and perfectly summed up by you in terms of being there for when things do go wrong, because things always go wrong. But if they know that they can come to you and kind of talk that through and get advice and support, that's definitely crucial. Just in terms of the challenges, because you, a few minutes ago, you went through that journey you've had, especially since COVID. What would you say is the biggest challenge you've come across since being a business owner?
What, just one?
Top one. Yeah. We can do a book on all of them, but we'll pick just one for the episode.
Wow. One. Mm-hmm. Do you know what is growing with the right people? It's finding the right people and growing with the right people. I think in the industry that we work in, you're looking for everybody's special, of course, but you're looking for a unique person, a special person that can, be inspiring, patient, kind, always encouraging and enthusiastic. And, I think you're very much giving, you're always giving. I think if you think about teaching PE, for a day, and you might teach 4 or 5 different, classes and year groups, and, you have to treat them all the same. You have to be inspiring. You have to be enthusiastic and, patient. And, you have to, there's so, it takes a special person to do that consistently. And I think you can only grow with the right people. So I'd say identifying those people, hiring, recruitment, employment, all the headaches that I'm sure many of the people in the network have. I think it's just identifying those right people, and you can only grow with those right people. They don't grow on trees. And when you have them, you find them, you keep them, look after them, and, you give them what they deserve, and you praise them and manage them, correctly. But I think that's probably the biggest thing, is identifying and finding the right people to fit into your organization to then help you grow.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said before, it takes time, doesn't it? It takes time to come across the right recruitment process or the right support process for those people. And if people aren't the right fit, I guess it's having the bravery sometimes to kind of accept it and say, okay, we're not a right fit together. Let's kind of go off on our different ways. But like you said, when you have got the right people that buy into what you're doing and have got the same vision and motivation as you, it's holding on to them and really empowering them and helping them progress. So what would you say your proudest moment has been so far? And again, we can write a book on these ones, but we're going to pick the number one.
In business or just in life.
Let's go for one of each.
Okay.
Yeah. Go on. We'll let you go for two.
Obviously my children. That's my biggest motivation. Not so much from what you can provide as a dad but it's just kind of them seeing that consistency, that discipline of doing things when you don't want to get them done. And we can't, in our house, we've kind of related that to homework recently. So sometimes you can come home and chill and switch off and you can watch TV or whatever that might be, but then there's other times where you're gonna have to come home after school and you're gonna have to get your books out and you're gonna have to open your laptop and you're gonna have to get it done. And I think it's similar to work. Myself and my wife Anna, there's days where we come home and we've had dinner and then the laptop opens up, and that's not every day. It is sometimes, but it's them seeing that if you want to get something, if you want to get something that other people don't have, or if you want to achieve something that's that's big, you have to work towards it every single day, inch by inch, hour by hour. You have to keep going, you have to keep moving forwards, and you have to keep going and investing that time and being consistent. You have to keep doing that. And it's the same with their studies, it's the same with their homework. There's going to be days where they don't have to, but there's going to be days where they have to, and on those days it's a non-negotiable. You've got to keep moving. So that's kind of like on the family side of things. But again, I guess on the business side of things, what I'm most proud of is, there's been some tough times. I think probably, and it's a journey that me and you have been on together, but I think going through the wraparound care journey and going through Ofsted, I think is probably something, going through my first Ofsted inspection, Ofsted visit, and the build up of that, and the work and the time and the trips to Birmingham and everything, that was a long journey to get to that point of where we are now. So I think, there's more than one, but that's probably the biggest one that stands out recently over the past few months.
A lot of time, a lot of graphs, a lot of effort, and you went through such that first inspection that you talked about. Then it was so intense and so full on. I think all the work you put in to get there is really kind of inspirational, really, and you absolutely smashed that inspection. And it is something to be really proud of, I think, really proud of. So again, congratulations on getting through the dreaded Ofsted.
They were great. It was a very intense 5 hours. I'm going to press that up there. It was an intense 5 hours of the inspection. But like I say, I think it wasn't just so much of the inspection day itself. It was everything that came before it. It was all the planning and preparing and the sleepless nights and the late nights and working and, those types of things. I think is when you get to that point at the end to then get through it, pass it with flying colours, it's kind of a culmination of everything that's happened. And then, I guess once you get to that point, that's when it really starts. That's when the work really starts getting, that's when it really starts ramping up. So
yeah. I think was it Muhammad Ali said something like the fight is won far away from the ring and the flashing lights. It's all about what happens in the gym and on the road when you train. And it's all that pre stuff, isn't it? Before the main event that allows you to succeed. when that.
It's what you do when no one's looking.
Yeah, definitely.
What you do when no one's looking.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, if listeners wanted to enhance their leadership skills to then obviously grow and push forward with their business, do you have any books, podcasts, or people that you'd recommend?
Yeah, 100%. And I confess I'm not a big reader. I don't enjoy reading, but I do enjoy reading things that I'm interested in. So I don't necessarily read through enjoyment. But so for me to recommend books to you, that I'm really, it's something that you should read, you should pick up. The first book I'd probably recommend is a book called Legacy. I don't know if you've heard it or if you've read it, by Stephen Kerr. It's based around his leadership skills of the All Blacks. There's a rugby team.
Yeah, is it is it 15, it's like 15 chapters of certain traits, isn't it, of the All Black team?
Yeah. I mean, you know what, just thinking about it now, when you asked me earlier on about what would you, if we had to pick one person out of my team, what would they say your leadership style be? I would hope they would say, obviously, I'm kind and those things, but I hope that they would say that I lead by example. So the things that I'm asking them to do, I've done them myself, so I'm not asking them to do something that I've never done. So yeah, that's probably the first one that I would say for people to read. The second one, I guess, is more of a podcast, but obviously, listening to some of Stephen Bartlett's podcasts. Jay Shetty is another really good one. Jay Shetty's more of on maybe like a personal development type level with some business things thrown in there. Same with Stephen Bartlett. If you can pick out those stories and those key points, and then obviously move them into like the business world, I think is great. Obviously, him as a person is a massive, entrepreneur. And then another one who I've started listening to recently, Simon Sinek. I think it's spelled Sinek. Another really good person on a podcast. And then one book that I'm hoping that I can get for Christmas. It's on my Christmas list. is by an English. I don't know if he was the first. He was one of the first British basketball players to play in the NBA. His name's John Amici Obe, and he's written a book called The Promise of Giants, which is a leadership book. And he's someone that's super intelligent, a very very smart, very clever business leader. And yeah, those are the people. I mean, there's many more that I'm sure people would recommend. But yeah, those are if I could narrow it down to those, that's why I would go with, people that are interested in that development.
Yeah, that's amazing. Really good. I haven't read that the last book you mentioned, the Legacy books is amazing. That comes up quite a few times on the pod. Just really clear, really quite simple things that people can kind of magpie really and try and implement in their business. Obviously, it's very hard to get it all right at the same time. But that's been amazing. Thank you for joining us, Chris. We've gone through a lot. We've gone through your family when you were kind of growing up. Obviously, your family now as well. Basketball, we talked about. What you've learned from sport. You're very competitive. That's come out, obviously. When to say yes and no, I think, is a really key message as well. And the power of saying no that you highlighted. And then the challenges as well about finding the right people. And when you do find the right people to help grow your business and grow with them is really nurturing them and supporting them. So really enjoyed this conversation, Chris. If listeners want to reach out and connect with you, what's the best way?
Yeah, just via email. Email's great, or on Twitter, or I would say phone. Yeah, email. Great.
And listeners, you got to keep your eyes peeled for episode 2, because we're going to get Chris back for episode 2. He's promised us episode 2 already, so we'll get that lined up in the.
I promise and confirm episode 2 will be in the diary. We will do an episode 2. That is for sure. Perfect. That's been amazing, Chris. Thank you so much for joining us. No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you for grilling me with those questions. Speak to you soon. Take care. Bye.